Africa. The face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Welcome to Ethiopia, your second home. As you gather for the 48th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council and the 39th Ordinary Session of the AU Assembly, the vibrant city of Addis Ababa opens its arms to you. This year, leaders from across the continent unite under the powerful theme, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Together, we embark on a journey of meaningful discourse and shared visions for a brighter future. That is not just about discussions within these esteemed halls. As you can see, the streets of Addis Ababa are alive with transformation, all ready to welcome you. Don't miss the iconic Adwa Victory Memorial, a symbol of resilience and pride commemorating Africa's triumph over colonialism. It stands as a testament to the determination of a people ready to defend their sovereignty. Once again, a very warm welcome to Addis Ababa, a city in motion and a destination that feels like home. Together, let's shape the future.
Hello, I'm Tensai Gabeau, your host for the news this hour. Stay tuned. We'll start with Ethiopia's Medemer philosophy. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has presented Ethiopia's homegrown Medemer philosophy as a practical model for national renewal and a blueprint for Africa's broader transformation during the 39th African Union Summit. Addressing heads of state and diplomats, the international partners, but the Prime Minister emphasized that sustainable prosperity must go beyond macroeconomic growth to deliver tangible improvements in citizens' daily lives. According to Abiy, development must encompass expanded school feeding programs, improved healthcare access, strengthened social equity, and inclusive economic growth. Medemer is far more than just an abstract concept. It is a practical strategy designed to drive collective growth, he said. Framing the philosophy as a governance framework anchored in unity, synergy, and shared progress. Originally coined and developed by the Prime Minister, Medemer, meaning synergy, is designed to guide Ethiopia beyond a history of ethnic polarization toward national cohesion and shared prosperity. Its principles are articulated across 4 books, Medemer, Medemer Journey, Medemer Generation, and Medemer State, which collectively outline a roadmap for building a self-reliant, culturally grounded, and institutionally reformed Ethiopian state.
Under Digital Ethiopia 2030, we're building digital public infrastructure that places citizens at the center of service delivery. By linking FIDA, our national digital ID, with payment systems and the massive data exchange, we enable secure access to services, seamless transactions, and responsible data sharing, fostering trust and driving our economy forward. In 2020, Ethiopia established Africa's first artificial intelligence institute. Building on this foundation, we are preparing to launch an AI university anchored in the Ethiopian philosophy of Medemer, synergy through purposeful collaboration. This institution will unite human values with the machine intelligence, local context with global relevance, and scientific rigor with applied impact. It will ensure technology drives growth and position Africa as a global contributor in the age of intelligence.
Highlighting technological advancement, Abiy pointed to Ethiopia's rapid digital transformation. The country established Africa's first artificial intelligence institute in 2020 and is preparing to launch a dedicated AI university rooted in Medemer principles of purposeful collaboration. Under the Digital Ethiopia 2030 initiative, national ID systems are being integrated with digital payment platforms to modernize public services, expand financial inclusion, and enhance transparency.
Here in Ethiopia, we have learned that responsible water management is central to guiding development wisely. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam now powers homes and industry, exports electricity to neighboring countries, and shows how African ingenuity can drive shared prosperity. Across Africa, rivers can become engines of stability when governed for shared benefit. On our land, targeted policy and innovation have enabled wheat self-sufficiency, and large-scale industrial investments are moving us from dependency to production.
Energy self-reliance is central to Ethiopia's vision, with the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam currently generating over 5,000 megawatts of electricity, symbolizing national unity and driving regional energy integration. Infrastructure improvements, including the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railway, have reduced freight transit times from 7 days to under 12 hours, while industrial parks in Awasa, Bole-Lemi, and Kombolcha expand Ethiopia's manufacturing capacity. The government projects economic growth of 10.2% this year, positioning the country as an emerging trade and energy exporter. Environmental restoration reflects Medemer's principles in practice. The Green Legacy Initiative has overseen the planting of 48 billion trees nationwide, while riverside developments projects in Addis Ababa are transforming degraded waterways into climate-resilient public spaces. Urban expansion plans include the proposed Bishoftu International Airport, projected to become Africa's largest by 2030, capable of handling up to 110 million passengers annually, reinforcing Ethiopia's ambition as a continental aviation hub.
As we approach the African Union Silver Jubilee, the moment marks a transition from foundational unity to functional sovereignty. Sovereignty means owning our narrative. Through initiatives like Pulse of Africa, we amplify African voices because development is never complete without our story. Africa can contribute stability, scale, and solutions to a changing world. But we must do more than respond to crisis. We must shape agendas, turning vision into action and leading with purpose.
In tourism, programs such as Dine for Nation and investments in Halal Allah Resort, Wolchi Ecotourism, Georgia Lodges near Lake Tana, and Chabera Churchura National Park are enhancing connectivity and visitor experience. Including the Tanash second ferry service on Lake Tana, industrial expansion includes a Ura fertilizer complex and Gode geothermal projects at Korberti and Tulumoye, an exploration of national nuclear energy program to diversify the energy mix. Framing Medemer as a bridge between Ethiopia's historical legacy and future ambitions, Prime Minister Abiy underscored that the philosophy integrates institutional reform, technological innovation, environmental stewardship, and inclusive growth into a unified national strategy. He added that Medemer offers a pathway toward unity and shared prosperity, not only for Ethiopia, but also for a guiding framework for Africa's collective development. By emphasizing collective progress, Medemer is shaping Ethiopia's path as both a national and continental exemplar, the Prime Minister said. The 39th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union has concluded in Addis Ababa, with leaders reaffirming their commitment to sustainable development, peace, and continental integration. Held under the theme Assuring Sustainable Water Availability and Safe Sanitation Systems to Achieve the Goals of Agenda 2063, the summit placed water security and sanitation at the center of Africa's development agenda. Leaders emphasized that equitable access to water is critical for public health, food security, and inclusive economic growth. Briefing the media at the close of the summit, Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of Burundi and Chairperson of the African Union for 2026, said the theme reflects a strong commitment to ensuring sustainable water management as a foundation for achieving the continent's long-term development goals.
We try to focus our attention on strategic issues. Most of the deliberations and discussions took place in this hall with regard to peace and security on the continent, the reforms that we are trying to put in place for this organization, and at the end also the participation of the African Union to the G20. Of course, we received the reports of the assembly committees, which are presided over by heads of states. Agenda 2063 was one of them, the reports, or the NEPAD report, the AFCFTA report, and so on and so forth. And in particular also a report on the UN Security Council reforms and the demands of the African Union to have these 2 permanent seats with the right of veto and 5 non-permanent seats.
He noted that discussions also focused on accelerating economic integration through the African Continental Free Trade Area, strengthening peace and security mechanisms, addressing food insecurity, and enhancing Africa's collective voice in global forums such as the G20. The President expressed concern over ongoing conflicts across the continent and reiterated the commitment of member states to silence the guns and reinforce African-led peace initiatives.
Heads of state will have zero tolerance for unconstitutional or unconstitutional change of governments on our continent. The conference also underscored its determination to silence the guns. This is also a very important program if we contemplate to develop this continent and create the integration conditions for our countries. We need to silence the guns. We need peace on this continent. We need stability on this continent, and we have a program for that. The conference really underscored the necessity and its determination to pursue the goal of silencing the guns.
He concluded by thanking the government and people of Ethiopia for hosting the summit, emphasizing that Africa is moving decisively toward a future defined by resilience, unity, and shared prosperity. Mohamed Ali Youssef, chairperson of the African Union Commission, provided an overview of the accomplishments and key discussions during the 39th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government held in Addis Ababa. Speaking at Nelson Mandela Hall at the closing of the summit, Youssef highlighted the new momentum in the summit's methodology, noting that long marathon meetings were streamlined to focus on strategic issues. He said deliberations centered on peace and security, organizational reforms, economic integration, Agenda 2063, and the African Union's participation in the G20. He noted that the summit received reports on the AFCFTA implementations, UN Security Council reforms, including Africa's demand for 2 permanent seats with veto rights, and other continental priorities.
We try to focus our attention on strategic issues. Most of the deliberations and discussions took place in this hall with regard to peace and security on the continent, the reforms that we are trying to put in place for this organization, and at the end also the participation of the African Union to the G20. Of course, we received the reports of the assembly committees, which are presided over by heads of states. Agenda 2063 was one of them, the reports, or the NEPAD report, the AFCFTA report, and so on and so forth. And in particular also a report on the UN Security Council reforms and the demands of the African Union to have these 2 permanent seats with the right of veto and 5 non-permanent seats.
15 side events were held alongside the summit, including a business forum to mobilize private sector contributions, the launch of the 2026 theme on water and sanitation, and discussions on strengthening Africa's health systems. Youssef emphasized the continent's commitment to silencing the guns, ensuring political stability, and enforcing zero tolerance for unconstitutional changes of government. He also underscored support for AU reforms to improve the handling of peace, security, and economic affairs, and to enhance performance in achieving the goals of Agenda 2063, including the recently launched 2024 to 2028 five-year plan.
Heads of state will have zero tolerance for unconstitutional or unconstitutional change of governments on our continent. The conference also underscored its determination to silence the guns. This is also a very important program if we contemplate to develop this continent and create the integration conditions for our countries. We need to silence the guns. We need peace on this continent. We need stability on this continent, and we have a program for that. The conference really underscored the necessity and its determination to pursue the goal of silencing the guns.
On global issues, the chairperson noted the summit's recognition of colonization as a crime against humanity. The continent has the human, financial, and natural resources, as well as the policies to achieve the objectives of Agenda 2063, Youssef said, expressing optimism about Africa's future development, peace, and integration.
The African Union prioritized peace and security through mediation, negotiation, and Peace and Security Council. It works to prevent conflict and to address root causes for the lasting stability across the continent. Progress in regional cooperation and conflict prevention both support the broader development growth across our continent. These efforts strengthen our resilience and pave the way for sovereignty across the continent. And all African leaders will be focusing to reinforce these mechanisms on the 39th session of the African Union Assembly from February 14th to 15th, 2026, right here in Addis Ababa. And we, Pulse of Africa, will be your trusted media platform where you get all information across the continent. Make sure to stay tuned.
If you don't tell your story, it will be told by others. They'll talk of hunger, they'll talk of war, they'll talk of conflict, but they'll not say the things that are happening in Africa that are positive.
This is POA, a very new media organization in Ethiopia.
We have to be voice for ourselves. There is no one else that can tell our story better than us.
If it's defending African matters, then go for it. Go for Pulse Media.
This is the Pulse of Africa. Tune in, follow the journey, and learn about the news and what's shaping our African continent.
I am really impressed by the work that they are doing by telling the African story from Africa for Africans. I think it's definitely needed.
Please subscribe to the Pulse of Africa on all platforms.
Renowned American economist and public policy analyst Professor Jeffrey Sachs has hailed Ethiopia as one of the world's most dynamic and forward-looking economies, crediting its rapid progress to visionary leadership, large-scale infrastructure investment, and bold macroeconomic reforms. Sachs emphasized that Ethiopia is pursuing development with a long-term strategic outlook. Ethiopia is operating with a vision for the future, looking ahead 10 to 20 years, he said, underscoring that sustained development requires deliberate planning and structural transformation. Sachs, a professor at Columbia University and a leading global advocate for sustainable development, described Ethiopia as one of the world's most vibrant and rapidly evolving economies. He praised the country's expansive investments in transport, energy, digital connectivity, and agriculture, noting that these sectors are laying a solid foundation for long-term prosperity and regional integration.
We're seeing, thank goodness, a lot of very rapid economic development. Ethiopia is one of the fastest growing economies in the entire world. I come every year to the African Union Summit. You can see with your own eyes the economic changes that are taking place in Addis Ababa, and that's throughout the country. What's happening is a lot of infrastructure is being built, the power sector, electrification, digital access, roads, rail, all of this supports private business. And there's investment coming in as well.
According to The Economist, the strategic alignment between infrastructure expansion, particularly in energy generation, digital networks, and transportation corridors, and comprehensive macroeconomic reform is creating favorable conditions for private sector growth and investment inflows. He observed that visible transformation is unfolding both in Addis Ababa and across regional states, citing measurable improvements in electrification, digital access, and modern transport networks. Sachs particularly highlighted Ethiopia's vast renewable energy potential, including hydro, solar, wind, and geothermal resources, describing it as a critical pillar of the country's development strategy.
Well, I already see the results on the ground because you see many businesses, you see enterprise sectors, and you see farmers that because of this great project have electricity, and then you ask them and they say, yes, we're making money now. Now we can produce. Now we can ship our exports. The combination of the power and the transport is very powerful, and it's working.
He pointed to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam as a flagship project exemplifying Ethiopia's energy ambition. The dam, he noted, will significantly strengthen national power generation capacity while supporting regional electrification initiatives. With access to electricity, farmers can enhance crop production, improve transport, and ultimately increase profitability, Sachs explained, stressing that rural electrification is already generating tangible income for gains for agricultural communities.
The agricultural potential is very high, but in order to achieve it, farmers need solid education, training, data, mechanization, electrification. And so if you can put that combination together, the yields can rise significantly, and Ethiopia can achieve not only self-sufficiency, but become a major exporting country.
While acknowledging Ethiopia's vast agricultural potential, he underscored the importance of farmer education and skills training to fully unlock productivity gains. Beyond national development, Sachs called for stronger continental cooperation under the framework of the African Union, arguing that regional integration is essential to boosting productivity, strengthening value chains, and attracting sustained investment across Africa.
In general, Africa will move forward together in an integrated way. We need really union at the level of the whole African Union, the 55 nations. We also need union within each region. Extend the power grids, make the rail, make the roads, make the interconnections, because then you get increased productivity, a larger scale of the market, better value chains, more foreign investment. So big hydro projects as part of big electrification is a regional effort.
Sachs concluded that Ethiopia's blend of visionary planning, infrastructure expansion, and reform momentum positions the country as a rising economic powerhouse on the African continent and an emerging model for sustainable development worldwide. The African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat and Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at accelerating agricultural trade and strengthening food systems across the continent. The agreement was concluded on the margins of the 39th Ordinary Session of the African Union, Heads of State and Government. It was signed by AFCFTA Secretary General Wakmele Mene and AGRA President Alice Rueza.
It is a pleasure for us to be here today to sign a memorandum of understanding between the AFCFTA Secretariat and AGRA. As you know, the continent of Africa over the last few years has been undergoing a food insecurity crisis. The continent of Africa is a net food importer, including grains that are available in Africa, but However, we continue to be a net food importer. The partnership with AGRA is very important for our continent because we're able to combine the technical skills, the policy and expertise, know-how of AGRA.
The MOU reinforces ongoing collaboration between the two institutions and seeks to translate the AfCFTA legal framework into tangible, value-creating outcomes for small-scale farmers, informal traders, women, and youth. It also aims to strengthen resilient agriculture value chains across Africa. The partnership is anchored in the AfCFTA Agri-Trade Action Plan, which focuses on boosting intra-Africa trade, removing tariff and non-tariff barriers, and promoting investment and value-added agricultural trade and agro-industrialization.
Through this partnership, AGRA and the FTCA will commit to 1. Building climate resilience, protecting food systems from droughts and floods. We will unlock value chains by linking food corridors and food baskets into agro-processing zones that utilize sustainable water management. And we will empower smallholder farmers, ensuring that the free trade area's prosperity reaches the women and youth who farm our land and protect our streams. As my colleague here, Secretary General Nkele, often says, the free trade area is our chance to build regional value chains and create jobs with dignity.
The initiative is expected to enhance food security, create decent jobs, and foster sustainable and competitive African food systems through trade. Speaking at the signing ceremony, Mene described the agreement as a crucial step in addressing Africa's food insecurity crisis. He noted that despite having the capacity to produce many of the grains it consumes, the continent remains a net food importer. The African Union has renewed its call for comprehensive reform of the United Nations with a particular focus on restructuring the UN Security Council to reflect contemporary geopolitical realities and give Africa a stronger voice in global decision-making. Speaking after the 39th Ordinary Session of the AU Assembly Heads of State and Government, Bakole Adoye, Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, emphasized the need for a more inclusive and effective UN capable of addressing global challenges while taking into account Africa's priorities.
But on the UN Security Council reform in particular, let me use this opportunity to congratulate DRC and the Republic of Liberia that have recently joined the A3, the African members, 3 members from the African Union who are in the current UN Security Council, and the Federal Republic of Somalia. We also engage on the sidelines of this summit to continue to promote the African perspective through our APSA, the African Peace and Security Architecture, to promote global preservation and maintenance of peace and security globally. We want to note that whenever the United Nations approves the reform of the Security Council, the El Zawini Consensus, the Self-Declaration are critical components that the Committee of 10, chaired by and coordinated by the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, continue to champion a legitimate, more legitimate, inclusive, fully participatory United Nations Security Council.
He stressed that Africa, home to 54 member states, should have permanent representation on the UNSC, including veto rights, arguing that such a change is essential for a council that is truly representative and capable of understanding and responding to Africa's peace and security concerns. He welcomed the recent inclusion of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Liberia, and Somalia as part of the A3 Africa non-permanent representation, underscoring that African voices must be heard clearly. He reaffirmed that African-led initiatives, including the El Zawini Consensus, continue to guide efforts toward meaningful reform. Linking the push for UN reform to continental peace, Adoye highlighted the AU's ongoing mediation efforts in eastern DR Congo and Sudan, where the organization is collaborating with regional bodies and international partners to secure permanent ceasefire and promote inclusive political dialogue.
The UN Security Council, in our view, must reflect the world of today. The global South, Africa, needs to be in the category of veto-carrying members of the United Nations. Our position is very clear in the Azulini Consensus, as I stated, and I want to assure you that Africa's voice must be heard clearly. Our principles must also be fully understood by the rest of the international community. We want a council that is pro-Africa, that understands the needs and the peace and security principles and norms that we cherish in the Council.
He argued that a reformed UNSC, more representative of the Global South, would enhance Africa's capacity to manage such crises and strengthen multilateralism at a time when it faces global pressures. Adoye further emphasized Africa's role as a constructive actor in global governance, contributing to solutions on issues such as terrorism, climate change, and other transitional challenges. He noted that the AU's participation in the G20 and its continental initiatives, including Agenda 2063 and the Silencing the Guns by 2030 effort, reflect Africa's ambition to combine internal stability with international influence. The Commissioner reiterated that reforms to the UN and Security Council are crucial not only for Africa, but for global peace and security. He affirmed that the AU, through the African peace and security architecture and coordinated diplomacy, will continue to advocate for a legitimate, inclusive, and responsive UNSC capable of addressing both continental and worldwide challenges.
Welcome to Ethiopia, your second home. As you gather for the 48th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council and the 39th Ordinary Session of the AU Assembly, the vibrant city of Addis Ababa opens its arms to you. This year, leaders from across the continent unite under the powerful theme, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Together, we embark on a journey of meaningful discourse and shared visions for a brighter future. But it's not just about discussions within these esteemed halls. As you can see, the streets of Addis Ababa are alive with transformation, all ready to welcome you. Don't miss the iconic Adwa Victory Memorial, a symbol of resilience and pride commemorating Africa's triumph over colonialism. It stands as a testament to the determination of a people ready to defend their sovereignty. Once again, a very warm welcome to Addis Ababa, a city in motion and a destination that feels like home. Together, let's shape the future.
Sidi Oldta, president of the African Development Bank Group, has introduced a bold proposal for a new African financial architecture during high-level discussions on the sidelines of the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa. Presenting the framework to leaders of Africa's regional economic communities, Ta outlined a strategy aimed at transforming how the continent mobilizes and deploys financial resources for large-scale development. The proposal focuses on strengthening coordination among regional blocs while enhancing financial integration across African economies. The new African Financial Architecture Initiative is designed to unlock new funding streams for infrastructure, industrialization, and trade while reducing Africa's reliance on external financing. It emphasizes the role of efficient capital markets, stronger regional financial institutions, and innovative financing mechanisms to support long-term growth. Leaders of the regional economic communities expressed strong support for the proposal, pledging to align efforts towards its implementation under the continent's broader development blueprint, Agenda 2063. The discussions reflect growing momentum behind African-led solutions to financing challenges. Analysts say that if successfully implemented, the new financial architecture could significantly reshape Africa's development financing landscape, reinforcing economic sovereignty and enabling more inclusive and sustainable growth across the continent. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast across Africa. That is all for today. Thanks for tuning in and goodbye.